morning, everybody. This is David, the Timeless Runner, coming to you again in the morning. Beautiful day here with a lot of sun. I always try and find a place that's peaceful, quiet, has a lot of shade. That way I can focus on doing what I need to do without too many distractions. Today I'm going to talk about two different types of stretching that you can do. The first is the one that you're probably more familiar with. You'll see people get up in the morning, and if they're headed out for a run or for some exercise, typically they want to stretch out their legs first. And the first thing they're going to do, typically, is that they're going to grab their ankle and pull on their thigh so that they stretch out the quad. Well, there's two things wrong with that. The first is that they're using the same arm on the same side, and then they're just kind of pulling backwards on it to do that. That'll put a lot of stress on your knee, and you could, if you pull too hard, get to a point where you do some damage to that knee. So if you're going to do that type of stretch, which is called a static stretch, you want to use the opposite arm to grab your ankle or the top of your foot. And then as you do it, you can pull it back and lean forward, and you can move side to side to get more of the action or more of the stretch there. Pull gently on the top of the foot, not on your ankle. There is another way that you can do the same type of stretch. It's called a dynamic stretch. And the dynamic stretch is where you actually engage the muscles while you're doing a stretching routine. The best way for this quad, for example, in a dynamic stretch would be to do lunges. And a lunge is simply taking a big step forward, bending at the knee, coming back up, stepping forward with the next leg, bending at the knee, coming back up. And you can do that for as many as you like. Typically I will do 10 of them if I am doing lunges, and I will repeat them oftentimes, do 2 or 3 sets before I will go out for a run. And that's going to warm up your thighs and your quads in a more deliberate action, a more dynamic action. Same with the idea of the shoulders. If you're going to be doing shoulder stretches, you'll often see people just kind of pulling on their arm as they do that and holding it. That is more of a static stretch. A more dynamic one would be to do arm rotations, which engages all of your shoulder muscles, not just one or the other. And whenever you do these, you always go in one direction and then return in the other direction. In terms of hips, there are hip rotations that you can do. Again, slowly move around side to side. This is an example of a dynamic stretch for your hips. And again, I typically do 7 to 10 of these in each direction, and then return, go in the opposite direction, kind of unwinding what you just wound up, right? And that's a dynamic stretch for your hips. If you want to see an example of a static stretch for your hips, that would be one where you will cross your legs over and pull on your knee, and that'll stretch the outside of your hip. A static one where you're going to hold that pose. Now, if you grew up in the era where I did, oftentimes you will hear people talk about isometric exercises. The isometrics were engaging a muscle and holding them. So this is what's called a low lunge, and this is another way of engaging your quad and your hip flexors. Simply just kneel down on one knee, the other one perpendicular, the leg will be perpendicular to the ground from the calf, quad will be horizontal. And then you just reach up, and that's going to stretch all of the muscles on the leg that is kneeling down. If you want to increase the stretch on this, you can lean back gently. In yoga, you never do anything radical. You don't do any of this herky-jerky stuff. You basically just gently lean back. And if you want another stretch, you can just bend forward from this position, and that's going to stretch out your glute on the leg that is forward. And again, always try and repeat it to both sides so that you can stretch everything out before you get headed out into your day. Again, lean back and you'll feel the stretch the top of your quad and into your hip flexor. And from the same position, you can go forward and you'll feel the stretch coming in on the glute of that leg that is forward facing. The same thing with hamstring stretches. Typically, the best thing for hamstrings is to bend at the waist, put your hands behind your back, and then raise them up and forward. You'll feel a big, strong stretch in the hamstrings in the back of your legs as you do this. That's more of a static stretch. From there, you can kind of move your arms forward, grab your elbows, and rock side to side as you move forward. That is a static stretch for your hamstrings. You may also see people who like to swing their legs forward and back. That is a more dynamic stretch for your hamstrings as you do it that way. So hopefully today we covered a couple of important notes. The idea of static versus dynamic stretching. Do whichever one is best for you. I prefer the dynamics if I'm going out for a run. If I'm just waking up in the morning, stretching out, that's kind of that static thing, and that's okay too. Whatever you do, do what's good for you. But remember, always, gentle transitions. Do not pull to a point where it hurts if you're doing a static stretch. Just hold it for no more than 20 seconds and you'll be off on your way to a better day. Thanks so much for watching. If you do like these videos, please click on like. If you want to see more of them when they come out, and I do a couple of these each week, click on subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.